Tonight, the air is still. The stars rest quietly above the wide valley of the Nile, shining with the soft light that has watched countless evenings pass across the ancient land. The river moves without hurry, carrying cool water through fields that will soon welcome another day of work. Small waves touch the muddy banks with gentle sounds that almost disappear into the peaceful darkness. Far away, a dog gives a sleepy bark before settling once more. Somewhere beyond the fields, a night bird calls only once, then grows silent again. In a small village built from sun-dried mud brick, nearly every home is dark. Families sleep close together on woven reed mats. The day's warmth still lingers inside the walls, though the night breeze slips gently through open doorways. Sandals wait beside sleeping places. Clay jars stand quietly against the walls. Baskets filled with grain rest where they were left before sunset. The smell of baked bread still hangs softly in the cool air, mixing with dry earth, river reeds, and distant smoke from cooking fires that have almost burned away. This is a peaceful hour. Even those who rise before sunrise have not yet opened their eyes. The world seems to pause between yesterday and tomorrow. Among the sleeping families is one whose work begins long before many others leave their homes. Their hands do not shape stone into temples. They do not carve statues for kings. They do not command soldiers or guide great ships along the Nile. Their labor is quieter than that. Day after day, season after season, they transform the tall green reeds growing beside the river into something light enough to carry under one arm, yet valuable enough to preserve words for generations. They are makers of papyrus sheets. Their work rarely appears in stories told by royal scribes. Their names are seldom carved into monuments. Yet without their careful hands, many stories would never have been written at all. Every account of trade, every prayer copied inside a temple, every letter between friends, every careful drawing made by a student learning to write all begin with the simple work of people who know how to prepare the river plant with patience and care. Long before sunrise, the father of this household slowly opens his eyes. There is no loud alarm. No sudden movement. His body simply knows the hour. Years of routine have taught him when the stars begin to fade and when the eastern sky prepares to welcome the first pale light. He lies quietly for a few moments. Beside him, his wife continues sleeping peacefully. Their youngest child curls beneath a woven linen cloth, breathing slowly. An older son shifts slightly before becoming still once more. Outside, the village remains wrapped in silence. The man sits carefully so he will not wake anyone. His feet touch the cool packed earth floor. He reaches for his sandals, brushing away a little dust before slipping them on. His joints feel stiff from yesterday's work. His shoulders ache in familiar ways. His hands carry tiny cuts that have almost healed, while new ones have already appeared from slicing fresh reeds. This discomfort no longer surprises him. It is simply part of another morning. He steps outside. The cool air greets him immediately. For a little while each day, before the desert sun climbs higher, the world feels gentle. The heavy heat has not yet arrived. A faint mist floats above parts of the river. Palm trees stand quietly against the sky. The stars slowly begin surrendering their place to morning. Nearby, another door opens. A neighbor nods without speaking. He too begins another day of ordinary labor. One man will tend irrigation channels. Another repairs fishing nets. Someone else carries baskets toward the market. No one rushes. There is still time before sunrise. The papyrus maker walks toward the river path. His sandals leave soft marks in the dusty ground. The road is familiar. He has followed it nearly every morning for many years. He hardly needs to think about each turn. Even in darkness his feet know where to go. The Nile waits ahead. Its wide surface reflects the fading stars while gentle ripples move beneath the growing light. Clusters of papyrus plants rise proudly from shallow water. Tall green stalks sway almost without sound. Their feathery tops catch the first whisper of wind. This plant has lived beside the river for countless seasons. It shelters birds. It hides fish. It steadies muddy banks. And each morning, it quietly offers itself to skilled hands willing to shape it into something useful. The papyrus maker kneels near the water. Before beginning his work, he washes his hands and face. The cool river eases the sleep from his eyes. Tiny circles spread across the water where his fingers disturb its smooth surface. For a few peaceful breaths, he simply watches the current. Small boats drift in the distance. A fisherman prepares his nets. Another family fills clay jars with fresh water. The village slowly wakes together. Nothing happens quickly. Everything follows the rhythm of the river. Soon another figure approaches. It is his oldest son. The boy is still young, but old enough to help. He carries a small knife made for cutting reeds. His steps remain quiet, and his face still holds traces of sleep. His father smiles gently. No words are needed immediately. They simply begin working side by side. Choosing papyrus is not hurried work. Every stalk must be examined. Some have grown too thin. Others have become too old and dry. The best ones stand tall, straight, thick, and healthy. Their green color speaks of strong growth fed by the river's rich water. The father shows his son once again how to recognize them. He has explained these lessons many times before. Still, he repeats them patiently. Learning comes slowly. The boy listens carefully while feeling each stalk between his fingers. Soon he begins choosing good plants with growing confidence. Their knives move with practiced care. One clean cut near the base. Another. Then another. Bundles slowly gather beside them. Morning birds flutter among nearby reeds before flying toward open water. Dragonflies hover above quiet pools. Tiny frogs disappear beneath floating leaves. The river never seems empty. Even before sunrise, countless small lives continue their quiet routines. As the eastern sky brightens, more workers appear along the riverbank. Women wash clothing against smooth stones. Children carry small baskets. Donkeys wait patiently beneath simple loads. A fisherman laughs softly after pulling in a lively catch. The sounds remain gentle. Nothing breaks the peaceful morning. The papyrus bundles grow heavier. Each stalk contains a pale inner core hidden beneath its green outer skin. That soft center will become tomorrow's writing surface, but only after many careful steps requiring steady hands and patient attention. The cutting is only the beginning. When enough reeds have been gathered, father and son tie them together using simple cord made from plant fibers. The bundles are heavy now. They rest them across their shoulders. The walk home feels slower. Morning sunlight now touches the tops of mud brick houses. Smoke rises from cooking fires. Fresh bread begins baking inside clay ovens. The smell drifts through narrow village paths. Children wake. Roosters call. Goats wander between houses. Life gently unfolds with the growing light. At home, the family has begun preparing breakfast. The mother kneels beside a grinding stone, finishing flour for flat bread. Her movements are smooth from years of repetition. She has performed this task so many mornings that each motion feels almost like breathing. Their youngest daughter brings fresh water from a nearby jar. The older grandmother slowly shapes dough with careful fingers marked by many years of work. Everyone has a place. Everyone contributes. The papyrus maker places the fresh bundles beneath shade. The reeds must not dry too quickly. He inspects them once again before breakfast begins. Only after checking every bundle does he finally sit with his family. The meal is simple. Warm bread. A few onions. Dates gathered earlier in the week. Perhaps a little beer made from grain. No one speaks loudly. Morning meals often remain peaceful. The work ahead requires energy. Conversation can wait until later. After eating, everyone prepares for another busy day. The younger children help sweep the house. The grandmother begins weaving baskets. The mother repairs linen clothing while watching over the household. The father and son return to the papyrus. Now comes one of the most careful stages. Each stalk must be peeled. Using a small knife, the father slices through the tough green outer layer. His blade moves slowly, never forcing the cut. The outer skin curls away, revealing the moist white center hidden inside. The boy watches closely. Then he begins peeling his own stalk. His first attempts are uneven. Some strips become too thin. Others break apart. His father simply nods and demonstrates again. Patience matters more than speed. By mid-morning, neat piles of white inner strips begin covering the work table. They glisten slightly with natural moisture. The smell is fresh. Almost sweet. Very different from dry desert dust. Each strip feels cool against tired fingers. This simple material will soon carry poems, prayers, records of grain harvests, family letters, temple accounts, and lessons for children learning their first signs. But none of those words exist yet. For now, they are only quiet strips resting beneath the growing sun. The village grows warmer. Shadows shorten. The cool comfort of dawn slowly disappears beneath steady heat. Workers wipe sweat from their foreheads. Oxen pull wooden plows through distant fields. Farmers guide water into irrigation channels. Potters shape wet clay beneath shaded roofs. Stone workers strike careful blows that echo faintly across the settlement. Every trade follows its own rhythm. The papyrus maker continues slicing. One stalk after another. His breathing remains calm. His knife stays sharp. The growing pile slowly promises another day's work well done. And as the morning moves quietly toward the brighter hours, the village settles fully into the gentle rhythm that has guided these ordinary lives beside the Nile for generations. The sun continues its slow climb above the eastern horizon, and with every passing moment the warmth spreads across the village. Shadows become shorter. The cool breath of dawn slips quietly away, leaving behind the familiar dry air that will remain until evening. Yet inside the shaded workspace where the papyrus maker and his family continue their labor, there is still a gentle calm. The bundles of freshly cut reeds rest nearby. Their green outer skins catch small patches of sunlight that reach through the open doorway. A light breeze carries the scent of the Nile into the workshop. It mixes with the smell of damp plant fibers, warm earth, and smooth wood that has been polished by years of careful use. The papyrus maker reaches for another stalk. His hands move without hurry. Every motion has become part of his body over many years. He no longer thinks about where to place the knife or how firmly to hold the reed. His fingers simply remember. They know how much pressure is enough. They know when to slow down and when to continue. His son watches again, although he has already seen this lesson many times. There is always something new to notice. The father turns the stalk slowly as he peels away another strip of green skin. The blade glides along the length of the reed. The white center beneath is smooth and moist, almost shining in the morning light. He places the outer skin aside. Nothing useful is wasted if it can still serve another purpose. Some pieces may later become simple cord. Others will dry and find small uses around the home. Even the smallest scraps often have value in a place where every resource is respected. The inner core is what matters most. It feels soft beneath the fingers. If handled gently, it remains whole. If handled carelessly, it tears. The father has learned that the reed itself almost seems to guide patient hands. It never rewards haste. His son begins peeling another stalk beside him. The knife slips once. A strip bends too sharply and breaks near the middle. The boy pauses. For a moment he looks disappointed. His father smiles softly. He takes the broken piece and places it beside another pile. It can still be used, he says quietly. Nothing more needs to be explained. The boy nods and continues. Mistakes are expected. They are simply another part of learning. Outside, footsteps pass along the dusty lane. Merchants begin making their way toward the larger market farther along the river. Some carry baskets balanced carefully across wooden poles resting on their shoulders. Others lead donkeys loaded with vegetables, pottery, linen, or jars filled with oil. Their voices drift gently through the village. No one shouts. The day is still young. There is plenty of time before the strongest heat arrives. Nearby, a woman sweeps the ground in front of her home using a bundle of reeds tied together with plant fiber. The sweeping creates soft patterns in the dust before new footprints slowly cover them again. Children chase one another for only a few moments before their parents call them back to small chores. An elderly man sits beneath the shade of a sycamore tree. His walking stick rests across his knees. He watches the village awaken completely. He has seen thousands of mornings like this. Some days were remembered for festivals. Some for harvests. Some for floods. Most were simply ordinary. Those ordinary days quietly filled an entire lifetime. Inside the workshop, the growing pile of white papyrus strips now covers much of the work surface. The father examines each one. Some are wider. Some are narrower. Their lengths differ slightly because every plant grows in its own way. He arranges them carefully. Even this simple sorting makes the next steps easier. His wife enters carrying a clay jar filled with fresh river water. Small droplets cling to its outer surface. The cool water inside offers relief before the afternoon heat arrives. She pours water into simple cups. The family drinks slowly. No one wastes it. The youngest daughter watches the work with quiet curiosity. She is too young to handle the knives, but she enjoys helping in small ways. Her task today is to gather finished strips into neat bundles. She carries each one with great care. Sometimes she counts them softly to herself. Sometimes she hums a tune her grandmother taught her. The melody rises only slightly above a whisper. It blends naturally with the sounds outside. Somewhere beyond the workshop, grain is being ground. A wooden wheel creaks. A goat calls once. Birds continue singing among the river reeds. The village has its own music. It does not come from instruments. It comes from everyday life. The papyrus maker finishes peeling the last stalk from the morning harvest. He stretches his back. His shoulders feel heavy. The muscles in his hands ache gently. He has felt this same quiet soreness almost every day since he first learned the trade as a young boy beside his own father. He remembers those mornings. His father's hands had seemed impossibly steady. The knife had moved with perfect confidence. As a child he wondered if he would ever become so skilled. Years passed. Season after season. Slowly, without noticing, his own hands became just as sure. Now another child watches him with the same quiet admiration. Time moves gently beside the Nile. Knowledge travels from one generation to the next, not through books alone, but through shared mornings, careful observation, and patient repetition. The family prepares for the next stage. The strips must be cut into even lengths. The father uses a smooth wooden measuring stick worn at the edges from years of use. He lays each strip beside it. Trim. Another. Trim. Another. Every piece becomes closer in size. Not perfectly alike. Nature rarely creates perfect sameness, but close enough that they will join together smoothly later. His son gathers the finished pieces. The daughter stacks them neatly. Their mother places damp cloths over the bundles so they remain moist. If they dry too early, they lose some of the softness needed for pressing. Everything happens in its proper order. Nothing is rushed. Outside, the sun climbs higher. The air begins shimmering above the packed earth. Workers walking along the road naturally slow their pace. Even the donkeys seem less eager to move quickly. The desert teaches patience. Anyone who fights the heat soon grows exhausted. Anyone who works with it learns to endure. A fisherman pulls his small boat onto the muddy bank. His morning catch lies inside woven baskets. Silver scales flash briefly in the sunlight. He wipes sweat from his forehead before lifting the baskets toward the marketplace. Nearby, another family repairs fishing nets beneath a shaded shelter. Their fingers move steadily through the tangled cords. Small knots appear one after another. The work resembles weaving. Quiet. Careful. Steady. Back inside the workshop, the papyrus maker prepares a shallow basin. He fills it with fresh water drawn earlier from the Nile. The strips are placed inside one layer at a time. The water begins softening them further. Tiny air bubbles rise toward the surface. The pale pieces float gently before slowly sinking beneath the calm water. This soaking cannot be hurried. The water slowly changes the texture of the plant. It allows the natural juices within the fibers to become more flexible. The family waits. Waiting is also part of the craft. While the strips rest, there are other tasks to complete. The father sharpens his knife. He sits outside beneath a shaded awning where a faint breeze reaches him. The sharpening stone has grown smooth after many years. He wets its surface. Then the blade slides back and forth with slow, even strokes. A quiet scraping sound fills the air. Again. And again. The rhythm is peaceful. His son watches the edge carefully. The father runs one thumb lightly along the side, never across the blade. Satisfied, he smiles. A sharp knife is safer than a dull one. It follows the hand more faithfully. The grandmother continues weaving baskets nearby. Her fingers never seem to stop moving. She speaks softly to the younger children about the seasons she remembers. She tells them about years when the Nile rose high enough to leave rich black soil across every field. She remembers years when the flood arrived late, and everyone waited with quiet concern. Her stories contain no kings, no battles, no grand temples. They are stories about bread, weather, neighbors, harvests, births, and quiet evenings. They are the stories ordinary families carry in their hearts. As midday approaches, the village grows quieter. Many workers seek shade. Animals gather beneath trees. Birdsong becomes less frequent. The brightness of the sun seems to soften every sound. The family shares another simple meal. Fresh bread still warm from the oven. Crushed beans mixed with herbs. A handful of dates. Cool water. No one eats quickly. The pause allows tired muscles to recover. The father sits against the cool mud-brick wall. His eyes close for a few moments. Not fully asleep. Simply resting. The warmth of the afternoon wraps gently around him. Outside, a palm leaf moves slowly in the breeze. The youngest child has already fallen asleep beside her grandmother. A fly circles lazily through the shaded room before drifting away. The village itself seems to breathe more slowly beneath the midday sun. When the meal has ended and the strongest heat begins its gradual decline, the papyrus maker rises once more. He returns to the soaking basin. The strips have changed. They feel softer now. More flexible. He lifts one carefully. Water runs from its edges in tiny streams. He places it upon a smooth wooden board. Then another strip beside it. And another. Each overlaps the one before it ever so slightly. His son watches closely. This step requires great attention. The strips must lie flat. Too much space leaves gaps. Too much overlap creates uneven thickness. The father adjusts each piece with gentle fingertips. Soon a complete row stretches across the board. Then he begins laying another row across the first. This second layer crosses at a right angle. The fibers form a careful pattern. Simple. Balanced. Strong. The natural sap inside the plant will help bind the layers together. No complicated glue is needed. Only patience. Pressure. Time. The daughter leans forward with quiet wonder. "It looks like woven cloth," she whispers. Her father smiles. "In its own way," he replies. The unfinished sheet already hints at what it will become. It no longer resembles a river reed. Yet it is not fully papyrus either. It exists somewhere between plant and page. Between field and story. Between nature and memory. Soon it will be pressed beneath smooth stones and heavy wooden boards. It will rest quietly while the fibers slowly join together. Long after the family finishes today's work, the sheet itself will continue changing in silence. And just as the Nile flows patiently through every season without hurry, the making of papyrus asks for the same quiet trust in time, allowing each careful step to become part of something that will one day carry the thoughts, hopes, prayers, and everyday lives of people whose voices have not yet been written. The afternoon settles gently across the village. The brightest heat has begun to soften, though the air still carries the warmth gathered by the earth since morning. Mud brick walls slowly release the heat they have been holding. The dusty paths shine beneath the sunlight. Far across the fields, the Nile reflects ribbons of pale silver that move with every quiet ripple. Inside the workshop, the unfinished papyrus sheet rests upon its wooden board. It seems almost fragile. The strips still hold their own shape, yet they are only lightly joined together. A careless touch could disturb the careful pattern that has taken much of the day to prepare. The papyrus maker kneels beside the board. He studies it without speaking. Years have taught him that every sheet tells its own story before it is finished. Some reeds are slightly thicker than others. Some hold more moisture. Some fibers lie down willingly, while others need gentle encouragement. He reaches for one corner. With only the tip of his finger, he nudges a narrow strip into better alignment. No movement is wasted. No correction is hurried. His son watches quietly from across the table. He has learned that this is not the moment to ask questions. There are parts of the craft that are explained with words, and there are parts that can only be understood by sitting in silence beside someone who already knows. This is one of those moments. The workshop itself feels peaceful. A beam of sunlight enters through the doorway, falling across the packed earth floor. Tiny grains of dust drift through the bright air. They move so slowly that they almost appear to be floating without purpose. The grandmother continues weaving in the corner. Her basket has grown larger since morning. The soft scrape of reeds against one another creates a quiet rhythm. Near the doorway, the youngest daughter arranges smooth stones into neat little circles. She invents small games for herself while staying close to the family. Outside, a donkey passes slowly along the road. Its hooves make dull sounds against the dry ground. The man leading it carries empty baskets. Perhaps he has already sold vegetables at the market. Perhaps he will return tomorrow with grain or fish. Every traveler seems to move at the same unhurried pace. The afternoon encourages no one to rush. The papyrus maker lifts another prepared board from a shaded shelf. This one holds a sheet that was assembled yesterday. Its fibers have already begun to bind together. Now it is ready for pressing. He places the newer sheet beside it. His son helps carry two smooth wooden boards, worn at the edges from many seasons of use. Their surfaces are polished not by tools, but by countless sheets of papyrus that have rested beneath them. The father lowers one board carefully over the fresh layers. The wood settles gently into place. Nothing shifts beneath it. That is a good sign. He nods almost to himself. Then together, father and son lift several heavy stones. Each stone has been chosen long ago. Not too rough. Not too sharp. Heavy enough to press evenly. Light enough that the sheet beneath will not be damaged. One by one, the stones are placed upon the wooden board. Their weight begins its quiet work. There is almost nothing to see. Almost nothing to hear. Yet beneath the wood, countless tiny plant fibers are slowly moving closer together. The moisture inside them begins helping them become one smooth surface. This part of the craft belongs mostly to time. The family can only prepare the conditions. Nature completes the rest. The father wipes his hands on a simple linen cloth. His palms carry the faint scent of fresh papyrus. The smell reminds him of nearly every season of his life. He remembers gathering reeds beside his own father. He remembers cutting his finger on a new knife and trying not to show the pain. He remembers his first successful sheet. He remembers carrying finished rolls to merchants waiting beside river boats. Those memories arrive gently. Not as sharp pictures. More like quiet feelings carried by familiar smells and familiar work. His son notices the thoughtful look on his father's face. "Were you thinking about grandfather?" he asks softly. The older man smiles. "Yes. What was he like when he worked?" The father rests beside the workbench before answering. "He never hurried." The boy waits. The father continues. "When I was your age, I believed he moved too slowly." He smiles again. "I thought faster hands meant better work." The son laughs quietly. "I sometimes think the same." "I know." The father reaches over and gently brushes away a loose strand of papyrus fiber. "My father used to tell me that the reed grows slowly. The river flows slowly. The seasons change slowly. Good work should not move faster than the world around it." The boy looks toward the Nile, visible through the open doorway. Its waters continue their endless journey. No one could ever make the river move more quickly. He nods. "I understand a little better now." The afternoon breeze grows stronger for a few moments. Palm leaves rustle softly. A few birds return to the reeds near the riverbank. Their shadows pass across the workshop floor before disappearing again. The village has entered its quieter hours. Many farmers rest beneath simple shelters before returning briefly to their fields. Fishermen repair boats pulled onto the muddy banks. Potters inspect vessels drying in the warm air. Weavers continue their patient work beneath shaded roofs. The smell of baking bread begins drifting through the streets once more as evening preparations slowly begin. Every household follows its own rhythm. Yet each rhythm joins together like many small streams flowing toward the same river. The papyrus maker steps outside. He stretches his shoulders. The weight of the day's labor has settled comfortably into his muscles. He looks toward the fields beyond the village. Workers can still be seen in the distance. Some bend over rows of crops. Others guide animals home. Children carry small bundles of firewood. The day has not yet ended. There is still much to do before darkness returns. He walks toward the river with an empty clay jar. The path feels familiar beneath his sandals. The dust is warm now. Small footprints from children cross larger prints left by donkeys and carts. Wind has already begun softening many of them. Tomorrow new footprints will cover the old ones. The road remembers no single traveler for long. At the riverbank, women fill jars with fresh water. Their conversations remain gentle. They speak of bread, family, weather, and tomorrow's market. Nearby, two fishermen untangle a net caught on a piece of driftwood. An older man sits beneath a tree mending a sandal with leather cord. None of these tasks seem important enough to be carved into stone. Yet together they shape the life of the village. The papyrus maker kneels beside the Nile. He lowers the jar beneath the surface. The cool water rushes inside with a soft bubbling sound. For a moment he lets his fingers remain beneath the water. The coolness eases the warmth in his hands. He watches tiny fish dart between reeds near the shore. Dragonflies skim across the surface. A turtle lifts its head briefly before slipping beneath the water again. Everything here follows quiet patterns older than memory. The river asks for nothing except respect. It gives life without speaking. Without it, the reeds would not grow. Without the reeds, no papyrus would be made. Without papyrus, many voices would never travel beyond a single lifetime. He lifts the filled jar. Water drips from its rounded sides as he begins walking home. The shadows have grown longer. The fierce brightness of afternoon slowly gives way to softer golden light. Palm trees stretch long shapes across the dusty ground. Goats gather near their shelters. Children's laughter grows quieter as parents call them home. Smoke begins rising from cooking fires throughout the village. The scent changes once again. Fresh bread. Roasted onions. Lentils. Herbs crushed between stone grinders. Simple meals prepared with familiar hands. Back at the workshop, the pressed papyrus sheets remain beneath their wooden boards. There is nothing more to do for them today. Time will continue the work through the evening and into tomorrow. The family turns to cleaning. Small scraps of reed are gathered into baskets. Knives are wiped dry. Wooden boards are leaned carefully against the wall. The soaking basin is emptied and rinsed. Everything has its place. A tidy workshop welcomes a peaceful morning. The youngest daughter helps gather tiny fibers from the floor. She places them carefully into a basket, proud of her small contribution. Her grandmother smiles warmly. "No work is too small," she says. The little girl beams with quiet happiness. Outside, the first cool breeze of evening begins to arrive from the river. It slips through the open doorway and gently stirs the hanging linen cloths. The family notices it immediately. After the long warmth of the day, even the smallest breath of cool air feels like a gift. The father steps once more to the doorway. The western sky now glows with soft shades of gold, amber, and pale red. The Nile reflects every changing color. Boats return slowly toward the shore. Birds settle into the reeds. The village prepares, little by little, for another peaceful night. And inside the quiet workshop, beneath smooth wooden boards and steady stones, the papyrus sheets continue their silent transformation, patiently becoming the pages that will one day carry the careful handwriting of scribes, the simple accounts of merchants, the prayers of priests, and the ordinary thoughts of people whose calm lives flow gently beside the timeless river. The evening arrives without hurry. The bright colors of the western sky slowly soften into quiet shades of rose and pale violet. The warmth of the day begins to drift away with the gentle breeze that rises from the Nile. Across the village, long shadows stretch over dusty paths before slowly disappearing into the growing twilight. The workshop has become still. The heavy stones remain resting upon the wooden boards where the fresh papyrus sheets lie hidden beneath. Nothing appears to be happening. Yet inside those quiet layers, countless tiny fibers continue their slow work, settling together little by little. The papyrus maker often thinks this is the most peaceful part of the craft. The hands become still. The tools are set aside. Time itself becomes the worker. He steps outside and closes the simple wooden shutter that protects the workspace from the cool night air. Not tightly, only enough to keep drifting sand from finding its way onto tomorrow's work. The day's labor is finished for now. Tomorrow, the reeds will still be waiting. The boards will still be pressing the sheets. The Nile will still be flowing. Nothing asks to be hurried. His family gathers near the small cooking fire. Its flame is low and steady. The smoke rises slowly before disappearing into the darkening sky. His wife turns flat rounds of bread upon a warm clay surface. Their edges become lightly browned. The familiar smell spreads through the courtyard, comforting in its simplicity. Nearby, a clay pot of lentils simmers gently. A handful of herbs has been added. An onion, sliced carefully earlier in the afternoon, softens slowly in the warm broth. There is no feast. There is no celebration. It is simply another evening meal, much like the one before it and the one that will come tomorrow. The children sit close together. The youngest leans sleepily against her grandmother. She has spent the day helping in small ways, and even those small tasks have made her pleasantly tired. The older son washes his hands with water poured from the jar his father filled beside the Nile only a short while ago. He rubs away the faint green stain left by the papyrus reeds. The smell of fresh plant fibers still lingers on his fingers. His father notices. "It stays with you," he says quietly. The boy smiles. "I think I like the smell." "So did I." The father tears a piece of warm bread and dips it into the lentils. "When I was young, I believed I would always smell of reeds." "Did grandfather smell the same?" The older man nods. "He always did." The boy looks thoughtfully at his own hands. Perhaps one day, many years from now, another child will ask him the very same question. The meal continues peacefully. Conversation comes and goes like the evening breeze. Sometimes everyone speaks. Sometimes no one does. Silence is comfortable here. No one feels the need to fill every moment with words. The fire crackles softly. A goat settles down nearby. Somewhere across the village another family laughs gently before their voices fade into the night. The stars begin appearing one by one. The first is always difficult to notice. Then another. Then several more. Soon the whole sky begins filling with quiet points of light. The grandmother looks upward. She has watched these same stars since childhood. They have guided travelers. They have marked the changing seasons. They have looked down upon countless harvests and countless evenings just like this one. To her, they feel almost like old friends. After the meal, the family cleans the simple clay bowls. Water is used carefully. Nothing is wasted. The youngest daughter carries a small cup back into the house with both hands, concentrating so hard that not a single drop spills. Her grandmother praises her softly. The little girl smiles with quiet pride. The father walks once more toward the workshop. He does not need to. The sheets will continue pressing without him. Still, he enjoys checking everything before sleep. He lifts one of the wooden boards ever so slightly. Only enough to see the edge of the sheet beneath. The fibers have already begun joining together. He lowers the board gently. Satisfied. Tomorrow morning, they will be stronger still. He runs his hand across the smooth surface of the top board. The wood feels cool now. The evening air has begun carrying away the day's heat. He remembers learning this habit from his own father. Every evening, before returning home completely, the older man would quietly inspect the boards. Not because he expected problems. Simply because careful work deserves careful attention. Some routines are practical. Others become traditions. Both are worth keeping. He steps back outside. The village grows quieter with every passing moment. Cooking fires burn lower. Children are carried indoors. Donkeys stand peacefully beside simple shelters. The sound of distant voices becomes softer until only occasional words drift through the calm night air. A fisherman arrives late, pulling his narrow boat onto the muddy bank. Perhaps the evening waters offered one last catch before darkness settled over the river. He unloads woven baskets slowly. There is no rush now. Morning will come soon enough. Farther along the riverbank, another family gathers bundles of reeds cut earlier that day. Tomorrow they too may become baskets, mats, sandals, rope, or perhaps another stack of papyrus waiting to be shaped by patient hands. The Nile has always offered many gifts. Each family knows how to receive them in its own way. The papyrus maker sits upon a smooth stone outside his home. His sandals rest beside him. His feet welcome the cool evening air. The muscles in his legs feel pleasantly heavy after a full day of standing, walking, lifting, slicing, and arranging. This tiredness is familiar. It is not painful. It is the quiet feeling that comes after honest work. He watches the river from where he sits. Moonlight begins spreading across the water. The gentle current catches the silver light and carries it downstream. Tiny waves appear almost white against the darkness. The reeds sway slowly. The sound is soft enough that it almost disappears. His son joins him. For a while they simply watch the river together. The boy finally speaks. Do you think the scribes know how much work comes before they write? His father smiles. Some do. And the others? They may not. The boy considers this. They only see the finished sheet. Yes. They never see the reeds growing beside the river. No. They never see us cutting them. No. They never see mother keeping them damp. No. They never see the stones pressing them. The father gently places a hand upon his son's shoulder. Every craft begins with someone whose work is rarely noticed. The boy nods slowly. Neither of them seems troubled by that thought. The river does not ask to be praised. The fields do not ask to be thanked each morning. The reeds grow quietly. The papyrus is made quietly. The writing comes quietly. Much of the world depends upon quiet things. A cool wind brushes across the village. The scent of damp reeds reaches them again. It mixes with smoke from fading fires and the sweet smell of date palms. The night feels gentle. Above them, the stars shine with steady light. Below them, the Nile continues its endless journey northward. Long before their grandparents were born, the river flowed. Long after today's fresh papyrus sheets have carried their final words, the river will still flow. There is comfort in that thought. The father stands. It is time. The family prepares for sleep. Reed mats are unrolled across the packed earth floor. Simple linen cloths are shaken free of dust. The youngest child is already asleep before she is fully covered. Her breathing becomes slow and even. The grandmother quietly hums a melody almost forgotten by everyone except those who learned it many years ago. It is not a song for celebration. It is a song for peaceful evenings. A song that fits naturally beside quiet rivers and warm desert nights. The father lies down. His hands still carry faint traces of the day's work. Even after washing, the scent of fresh papyrus remains. Tomorrow those same hands will lift the wooden boards. They will inspect the drying sheets. They will smooth rough edges. Perhaps they will begin another harvest beside the Nile before sunrise. The routine will continue. Not because it is demanded. Because it is simply the rhythm of life. Outside, the breeze moves softly through the papyrus reeds. The moon climbs a little higher. The village grows silent. Only the gentle murmur of the Nile remains awake, flowing steadily through the darkness, carrying cool water past fields, boats, villages, and sleeping homes, just as it has done for countless peaceful nights and just as it will do again when another quiet morning slowly welcomes the papyrus maker back to the river. Night settles fully over the valley. The last quiet voices fade from the village until they become impossible to separate from the soft murmur of the Nile. Above the mud-brick homes, countless stars spread across the clear sky. They seem brighter now that every cooking fire has burned low. The moon hangs gently above the eastern horizon, casting pale light across the river and the reeds that line its banks. Inside the papyrus maker's home, everyone sleeps. The grandmother breathes slowly beneath a light linen covering. The children have curled close together on woven reed mats. Their small hands rest peacefully after a day filled with simple work and quiet play. The mother sleeps with one arm beneath her head, her breathing calm and steady. The father wakes only once during the night. Not because of noise. Not because of worry. His body has simply grown used to listening to the sounds of the house. He opens his eyes for a moment. The room is filled with soft moonlight entering through the doorway. Clay jars cast gentle shadows upon the floor. The woven baskets resting against the wall appear almost silver beneath the pale light. He listens. The family sleeps peacefully. Outside, a donkey shifts its weight. A distant owl calls across the fields. The breeze brushes softly against the roof made from reeds and timber. Everything feels exactly as it should. He closes his eyes again. Sleep returns quietly. The night continues without asking anything from anyone. Far beyond the village, the Nile keeps moving. The river never truly rests. Its gentle current slides around islands of reeds and bends carefully through the wide valley. Fish move beneath the surface where the moonlight cannot reach. Crocodiles lie almost motionless along distant banks where people rarely walk after sunset. Water birds tuck their heads beneath their wings while floating close to quiet patches of marsh. The river carries tomorrow toward the village. Fresh water. Rich soil. New reeds. Another ordinary day. Before the first hint of dawn appears, the air grows cooler. The desert has released the warmth it gathered beneath yesterday's sun. The breeze now carries the scent of damp earth instead of hot dust. One by one, the stars begin to fade. The eastern sky changes so slowly that no one notices the exact moment when black becomes deep blue. Then blue becomes gray. Then a faint ribbon of pale gold appears beyond the distant horizon. The papyrus maker opens his eyes. Once again, there is no sudden movement. He remains still for a few quiet breaths. This gentle beginning has become part of every morning. It allows his body to wake naturally before the work begins. He hears the first bird calling from somewhere near the river. Soon another answers. The village has not yet awakened, but morning has already begun. He sits carefully and reaches for his sandals. The leather feels cool against his feet. He ties the simple straps with practiced hands before standing. The packed earth floor is smooth beneath his steps. Years of sweeping have worn away every small stone. As he steps outside, the fresh morning air greets him. He breathes deeply. Every dawn smells a little different. Some mornings carry more moisture from the river. Some bring the scent of flowering plants growing near irrigation channels. Today, the air smells of wet reeds and clean water. It is a good morning for working. His wife soon joins him. She carries a small clay bowl filled with grain. Without speaking, she scatters a little upon the ground for the household birds. Tiny sparrows arrive almost immediately. They seem to know this routine as well as the family does. The birds hop across the courtyard, gathering the scattered grain before flying back toward the nearby trees. The mother smiles gently as she watches them. Simple moments like this begin many mornings. There is comfort in familiar sights. The grandmother wakes next. Though her steps are slower now than they once were, she moves with quiet confidence through the small home. She checks the clay oven. Only a few glowing coals remain from the previous evening. She carefully adds dry reeds and small pieces of wood. Soon a thin line of smoke rises into the brightening sky. The fire wakes slowly, just as the village does. Nearby, the older son stretches his arms. His shoulders feel slightly sore from yesterday's lifting and cutting. He notices the stiffness with quiet satisfaction. It reminds him that he is becoming stronger. Not all at once. Little by little. Like the reeds growing taller each season beside the Nile. His father notices him rubbing one shoulder. Does it ache? A little. It will. The father smiles kindly. So did mine. The boy nods. Neither of them speaks of avoiding the work. The soreness is simply another companion that walks beside those who use their hands every day. Soon the smell of fresh bread fills the courtyard again. The dough was prepared before sunrise. Now it bakes upon the warm clay surface. Its familiar scent drifts into neighboring homes. Elsewhere in the village, other fires are being lit. Other families prepare nearly identical breakfasts. Bread. Dates. Perhaps beans. Perhaps onions. Simple meals that have welcomed countless mornings. The family gathers together. The youngest daughter still looks sleepy. She rubs her eyes while trying to stay awake. Her grandmother laughs softly. The son has already begun working. The little girl smiles. I will catch up. Everyone chuckles quietly. The laughter is gentle. It fades almost as quickly as it began. After breakfast, the father walks toward the workshop. The older son follows carrying 2 empty baskets. Today's work begins not with cutting fresh reeds, but with checking yesterday's papyrus sheets. The father pauses before removing the heavy stones. He always enjoys this moment. There is a quiet sense of anticipation. Not excitement. Simply curiosity. Every sheet reveals how carefully the previous day's work was done. Together they lift the first stone. Its rough surface feels cool in the morning air. Then another. And another. Each is placed carefully upon the floor. Finally, the upper wooden board is lifted away. The sheet beneath has changed. The separate strips have begun joining together into one smooth surface. Their edges remain visible if one looks closely. Yet the whole sheet now feels strong enough to lift without falling apart. The father slides both hands beneath it. Very gently. He raises it into the morning light. The pale surface catches the first golden rays of the sun. His son smiles. It looks different. It does. It no longer looks like reeds. No. The father turns the sheet slightly. It is becoming what it was meant to become. He lays it upon another smooth board. Now comes the careful inspection. Every corner is examined. Every edge is checked. His fingertips move lightly across the surface. He searches for air pockets, uneven places, or loose fibers that may still need gentle smoothing. Most of the sheet feels excellent. Near one corner, however, a narrow strip has lifted slightly. The father moistens one finger with clean water. He presses the tiny edge back into place. No force. Only gentle pressure. Then he places a flat polished stone upon that corner for a little while longer. Small corrections made today will prevent larger problems later. The son studies every movement. Will anyone notice that corner? Perhaps not. Then why fix it? The father looks at him kindly. Because we noticed. The boy thinks quietly about those words. The father continues. A sheet should be as good as our hands can make it. Even if no one sees the work. Especially then. The workshop becomes peaceful again. Morning sunlight slowly spreads across the floor. Outside, more villagers begin passing along the dusty road. Some wave politely as they continue toward their own work. The papyrus maker returns each greeting with a simple nod. Everyone understands that the morning hours are precious. There will be time for longer conversations later. The family prepares additional boards for drying. Finished sheets must spend more time becoming firm before they can be polished. Nothing is hurried. Every stage asks for patience. The youngest daughter arrives carrying a soft linen cloth. She has been waiting eagerly for her small task. Her father thanks her warmly. She carefully wipes dust from one of the drying boards, moving as slowly as she has watched the adults do. When she finishes, she steps back proudly. Her father runs his hand across the clean surface. It is ready. Her smile grows wider. Even small hands help shape good work. Beyond the workshop, the village is fully awake once more. The sound of grinding stones echoes from nearby homes. Fishermen push narrow boats into the calm morning water. Farmers lead oxen toward the fields. Merchants begin arranging baskets of vegetables, jars of oil, and folded linen beneath simple market shelters. A potter carries newly fired vessels into the sunlight to cool. A weaver hangs fresh cloth upon a wooden frame where the morning breeze can pass through it. Everywhere, ordinary people begin another ordinary day. and within the quiet workshop beside the Nile, another sheet of papyrus slowly moves one step closer to completion, carrying within its pale fibers the patient rhythm of the river, the steady hands of a family, and the peaceful routine that has quietly repeated itself through one sunrise after another for generations. The morning grows brighter with quiet confidence. Golden light spreads gently across the village, touching the tops of palm trees before reaching the dusty paths below. The air is still pleasant. Soon the warmth will return in full, but for now the breeze from the Nile carries a cool freshness that every worker welcomes. Inside the workshop, yesterday's papyrus sheets continue drying upon smooth wooden boards. The father studies them one more time before beginning today's harvest. He never leaves finished work without one last careful glance. His eyes move slowly from one corner to another. A tiny loose fiber catches the light. He smooths it gently with the side of his thumb. Now the surface feels even. He smiles quietly. Sometimes the smallest touch is all that is needed. His son has already gathered the empty baskets. The woven handles rest comfortably against his shoulders. He has grown taller during the past year, and the baskets no longer seem as large as they once did. His father notices this without saying anything. Children grow much like the reeds beside the river. It happens little by little. One morning they seem unchanged. Then, almost without warning, they are standing a little taller than before. The two step onto the village path. The dust is soft beneath their sandals. Fresh footprints cover the ground. Some belong to neighbors who have already gone toward the fields. Others belong to fishermen carrying nets before sunrise. Small bird tracks weave between the larger footprints, creating delicate patterns that the wind will soon erase. The village greets another ordinary day. A woman kneels beside a doorway, brushing yesterday's dust away with a reed broom. She pauses long enough to wish the father and son a peaceful morning. He returns the greeting with a warm smile. Further along the path, an elderly potter sits outside his workshop. Rows of fresh clay jars stand neatly beside him. He runs his fingertips over each one, searching for tiny cracks that might have appeared during firing. He works slowly. Not because he must. Because careful work deserves quiet attention. The papyrus maker understands this feeling well. Every craft asks for patience. As they continue walking, they pass a baker removing fresh loaves from a clay oven. The warm scent fills the air. Steam rises gently from the bread before disappearing into the morning light. Several children wait nearby with woven baskets. Each loaf is placed carefully inside before being carried home. The baker's hands move with practiced ease. Years have shaped every motion. The father nods politely as they pass. The baker nods back. No words are necessary. They have shared countless mornings like this. Soon the houses become fewer. The open land beside the Nile stretches before them. The river glows beneath the early sun. Its surface appears smooth except where fish disturb the water with gentle circles. The papyrus reeds stand tall along the shallows. Their green stems sway softly. The feathery crowns catch the light and seem almost golden for a moment before returning to their rich green color. The father stops at the edge of the marsh. He does not begin cutting immediately. Instead, he simply looks. The reeds are never harvested without first being observed. Some have grown taller since yesterday. Some lean after last night's breeze. Some show signs that they should be left to grow a little longer. Nature offers its gifts generously, but it also asks for wisdom. If too many reeds are taken at once, the next season becomes poorer. If only the strongest are chosen carefully, the marsh remains healthy. The father learned this lesson from his own father. Today he quietly passes it to his son. "We never take everything," he says. The boy nods. "There must always be enough left." The father smiles. "For us. And for the birds." The son looks across the reeds. Several small birds dart between the tall stalks. One disappears into a hidden nest. Another lands lightly upon a bending stem before flying away again. The marsh belongs to many lives. Not only to those who harvest it. The father kneels beside a cluster of mature reeds. He rests one hand gently upon a stalk. It bends slightly beneath his fingers before standing upright again. He studies its color, its thickness, its height. Only then does he reach for his knife. The blade slips cleanly through the stem near the base. The reed falls softly into his waiting hand. No loud sound breaks the morning. Only another quiet beginning. His son works nearby. His movements have become more confident. The cuts are straighter now. The bundles grow more neatly. Occasionally he glances toward his father, comparing his own work with the older man's. The father notices but says nothing. Encouragement often comes through silence as much as through words. A kingfisher suddenly flashes across the river. Its blue feathers catch the sunlight before it disappears among the reeds. The boy watches it with quiet wonder. It always moves so quickly. His father nods. And yet it waits very patiently before it flies. The boy thinks about that. He has seen the bird sitting completely still beside the water for long moments. Its speed comes only after patience. The lesson feels familiar. Nearby, dragonflies drift above the calm water. Their delicate wings shimmer whenever they turn. Tiny frogs hide beneath broad leaves. A turtle lifts itself onto a warm stone, enjoying the growing sunlight. The marsh is never truly silent. Yet every sound feels gentle. Nothing disturbs the peaceful rhythm of the morning. As the bundles become larger, the father pauses. He wipes a little moisture from his forehead. The day is warming. The first hints of the desert heat begin touching the valley. He kneels beside the river and cups water into his hands. It is cool, clear, refreshing. He drinks slowly. His son joins him. Neither speaks for a while. They simply listen. The quiet splash of water against the muddy bank. The rustling reeds. The distant call of another fisherman guiding his small boat downstream. These sounds have accompanied nearly every morning of the father's life. He wonders if his son will remember them many years from now. Perhaps one day, when his own hair has begun to turn gray, these same sounds will still greet another sunrise. The bundles are tied with simple plant fiber. Each knot is pulled firmly but not too tightly. The reeds must remain straight. Bent stems are more difficult to prepare later. The father lifts one bundle onto his shoulder. Its weight settles comfortably across muscles long accustomed to carrying such loads. The son does the same. His bundle is smaller. For now. Each season his father allows him to carry a little more. Strength grows quietly. Just as skill does. The walk back follows the familiar path along the river. Morning activity has increased. A narrow boat glides past carrying baskets of vegetables toward a larger town downstream. Two fishermen wave as they pass. The father raises his hand in return. Further along, women wash linen beside the river. The steady rhythm of cloth against smooth stones echoes softly across the water. Children collect small shells near the muddy bank. An old man sits beneath a sycamore tree mending a fishing net with careful fingers. Everywhere, work continues. Not hurried. Not delayed. Simply steady. The father notices how the sunlight now falls across the tops of the papyrus bundles resting on their shoulders. The fresh-cut stems still glisten slightly. Tiny drops of moisture cling to their pale ends. Before long, those stems will become thin white strips. Those strips will become smooth sheets. Those sheets may travel far beyond this quiet village. Perhaps a temple scribe will write a prayer upon one. Perhaps a merchant will record the arrival of grain from distant fields. Perhaps a teacher will guide a child's first careful writing lessons upon another. Perhaps a physician will record remedies gathered from many years of observation. The father does not know. His task ends long before the writing begins. Yet he finds comfort in imagining the journeys his work may take. Back at the workshop, the family is already waiting. The mother has prepared fresh water for soaking. The grandmother has cleared another work table. The youngest daughter runs forward eagerly. She counts each bundle aloud as it is placed inside the shade. 1, 2, 3, 4. Her voice is bright but gentle. When the counting is finished, she claps her hands softly. The father laughs. It seems we have enough for another good day's work. She nods proudly, as though she herself had gathered every reed. The workshop slowly fills once more with the fresh scent of newly cut papyrus. The father reaches for his knife. Its edge shines briefly in the morning light. He chooses the first stalk. He turns it slowly in his hands. His son takes his place beside him. Without hurry, without wasted movement, and with the same quiet care that has shaped countless mornings before, they begin peeling away the green outer skin, revealing once again the cool white heart of the reed, where another page patiently waits to be born from the gentle rhythm of family, river, and time. The workshop grows quiet once more. Only the soft sounds of careful hands fill the shaded room. A knife slides gently along the length of a reed. The outer skin loosens with a faint whisper. Fresh strips of pale papyrus are placed neatly upon the smooth wooden table. Outside, the village continues its mourning without disturbing the peaceful rhythm inside. The papyrus maker holds another reed close to the light entering through the doorway. The green surface shines for a brief moment before the knife begins its familiar path. He has never counted how many reeds have passed through his hands. There would be no simple way to know. Each day brings another bundle. Each season brings another harvest. The years quietly gather together like the finished sheets resting one upon another. His son works beside him with growing confidence. There are still moments when the knife catches unexpectedly. There are still strips that become slightly uneven. But those moments grow fewer with each passing month. The father notices without saying so. He believes praise should arrive naturally, never too quickly. A craft becomes stronger when it is guided by patience rather than pride. The mother enters carrying a wide-woven basket. Inside are the strips prepared earlier that morning. They remain damp beneath clean linen cloths. She lifts the covering carefully. A cool scent rises into the air. Fresh. Earthy. Almost sweet. The father breathes it in. Every season has its own smell. Harvested grain carries one scent. Fresh clay another. New cut wood another still. Papyrus has always reminded him of the quiet places beside the Nile where the reeds grow thick and tall. Even when standing inside the workshop, that gentle fragrance carries his thoughts back to the river. The youngest daughter sits near the doorway. She has found several smooth pebbles gathered during an earlier walk beside the water. She arranges them into little rows. Sometimes they become tiny houses. Sometimes boats. Sometimes fields separated by narrow paths. She does not speak very much while she plays. Her quiet games seem to match the peaceful mood of the workshop. Her grandmother watches with gentle eyes. Now and then she smiles to herself. Children often learn the rhythm of a household before they understand the work itself. The sounds around them become familiar long before the skills do. The scrape of a knife. The splash of water into a basin. The slow placing of stones upon wooden boards. The soft brushing of linen across drying sheets. These sounds have surrounded the little girl since the day she was born. One day they may simply feel like the sound of home. The father lays another finished strip upon the growing pile. He pauses for a moment. His fingers feel slightly sticky from the natural juices inside the reeds. He rinses them in a shallow bowl of water. Tiny threads of pale fiber dripped across the surface before settling at the bottom. His son notices. "Do your hands ever stop smelling like papyrus?" The father chuckles softly. "For a little while during the flood season. And after that, the smell always returns." The boy lifts one hand toward his face. A faint green scent lingers on his own fingertips. He smiles. "I think I will always remember it." "I hope you do." The father looks toward the open doorway. There are memories that stay in the mind. Then he glances at his hands. And there are memories that stay in the hands. The boy quietly thinks about those words while returning to his work. Outside, the breeze changes direction. Instead of coming directly from the river, it now carries the warm scent of fields where barley and emmer wheat continue growing beneath the morning sun. Farmers move steadily between irrigation channels. Their feet sink slightly into the rich dark soil left behind by the Nile's yearly flood. Some carry wooden hoes across their shoulders. Others guide water through narrow earthen paths built with careful attention over many seasons. The father has never been a farmer. Yet he understands their work well. Without grain there would be no bread. Without bread there would be little strength for any craft. The village depends upon many hands working together. A potter shapes jars that hold water. A carpenter builds the boards used for pressing papyrus. A basket weaver makes containers for carrying reeds. A rope maker twists plant fibers into strong cords. A fisherman brings food from the river. Every task supports another. No craft stands alone. The workshop door darkens for a moment as someone approaches. It is the carpenter. His beard carries fine dust from freshly cut wood. Balanced upon one shoulder is a smooth plank. He smiles warmly. "I finished the board you requested." The papyrus maker steps forward. Together they examine it. The surface is flat. The edges have been rounded carefully. No rough splinters remain. The father runs both hands across the wood. It feels smooth enough for pressing even the finest sheets. "You chose good timber," he says. The carpenter nods. "It came from a tree that had grown slowly." The father smiles. "Slow growth often makes strong wood." The carpenter laughs quietly. "Just as slow work makes good papyrus." They exchange a few simple goods. No coins change hands. The carpenter leaves carrying several dried fish received from another neighbor earlier that morning, along with the promise that the papyrus maker will prepare several finished sheets for him after the next drying. Such exchanges are common. Trust has been built through many years. Everyone knows that promises made between neighbors carry real value. As the carpenter walks away, the son studies the new pressing board. It is beautiful. His father nods. It will serve many years. Long after today. I hope so. He rests one hand upon the polished wood. Perhaps even after I no longer use it? The boy imagines himself many years older, placing fresh sheets beneath this very board. The thought feels strange, yet comforting. The workshop slowly returns to its quiet rhythm. The fresh board is placed beside the others. Soon it too will become marked by countless days of patient work. Its smooth surface will darken slightly from moisture. Tiny scratches will appear. The edges will grow softer from many hands lifting and lowering it. Objects, like people, carry the gentle marks of time. By the middle of the morning, the pile of prepared strips has grown once again. The mother begins arranging them according to width. The grandmother ties small bundles with thin strands of plant fiber. The daughter carefully carries each bundle to the soaking basin. She walks slowly, both hands supporting the weight as though carrying something very precious. In many ways, she is. The father kneels beside the basin. He lowers the first bundle into the cool water. Small bubbles rise between the fibers. The strips float for only a moment before becoming heavier. The water embraces them quietly. He adds another bundle. Then another. Soon the basin is filled with pale strips resting beneath the calm surface. They must remain there for some time. Nothing more can be done until the fibers soften. The father wipes his hands and steps outside. The sun has climbed higher. Its warmth now rests upon the village with quiet certainty. A shepherd guides a small flock of goats along the road. The animals move lazily, stopping now and then to nibble dry plants growing beside the path. Two young boys chase after one wandering goat before gently guiding it back toward the others. Their laughter drifts softly across the warm air. Near the riverbank, several women sit beneath woven shades repairing linen clothing. One carefully patches a child's tunic. Another strengthens the straps of a worn sandal. A third embroiders a simple decorative border using dyed thread. None of the work is hurried. The afternoon is still far away. There is time. The father enjoys these quiet moments outside the workshop. They remind him that his own family is only one small part of the village. Every doorway hides another story. Every household follows its own familiar routine. Every family rises with the sun, works through the warmth of the day, shares bread in the evening, and rests beneath the stars. Different tasks. The same peaceful rhythm. He walks a little farther toward the river. The reeds sway gently as they did yesterday. As they did the day before. As they likely will tomorrow. A white heron stands perfectly still in the shallows. Its reflection is almost as clear as the bird itself. The father watches for several quiet moments. The bird does not move. Then, with astonishing calm, it lowers its beak into the water and lifts out a small fish. The movement is so smooth that hardly a ripple spreads across the surface. He smiles softly. Patience. Again. The river teaches the same lesson every day. Nothing valuable comes from rushing. He turns back toward the workshop. Inside, the soaking strips are almost ready for the next careful step. The new pressing board waits nearby. His family is already preparing the smooth table where the softened fibers will soon be arranged into another sheet. The room is filled with gentle expectation, not because anything extraordinary is about to happen, but because another ordinary piece of work is ready to begin. One more quiet page slowly taking shape beside the timeless waters of the Nile, where patient hands and peaceful hearts continue their steady rhythm from one calm morning into the next. The sun rises a little higher above the valley, though inside the workshop the shade remains cool enough for careful work. The thick mud brick walls protect the family from the strongest light. Only narrow beams of sunshine slip through the doorway, reaching across the floor like long ribbons of gold. The soaking basin rests quietly near the work table. The pale strips of papyrus have become softer during their time beneath the water. They no longer feel stiff. When the father lifts one between his fingers, it bends gently without breaking. He nods with quiet satisfaction. They are ready. His son comes closer. This has become one of his favorite parts of the craft. The reeds have changed so much since dawn that they almost seem like a different plant. The father places the first strip upon a smooth linen cloth. Water slips from its edges in tiny drops. The cloth drinks the moisture slowly. Not all of it. Only enough to prepare the strip for the careful arranging that comes next. He lays another strip beside the first. Then another. Each one overlaps the last by only a small amount. The movement is slow, measured, gentle. His fingers hardly seem to press upon the fibers at all. The son watches closely. He has practiced this many times, yet he still studies every movement. There is always something new to learn from quiet hands. The father notices. "Come," he says softly. "You begin this row." The boy kneels beside the table. He takes a softened strip from the cloth. For a moment he simply holds it. It feels cool, smooth, almost silky. Very different from the firm green reed that grew beside the Nile only yesterday. He places it upon the board. A little too close to the first strip. The father reaches over. He does not remove it. Instead, he slides it only the width of a fingertip. There. The boy smiles. So little. So little. The father looks across the board. Many small things become one good sheet. The boy nods. He understands. One careful strip. Then another. Then another. The whole page depends upon quiet attention given to each small part. Together they continue building the first layer. The youngest daughter stands nearby watching. She leans forward slightly. To her, the pale strips look almost like ribbons lying side by side. She whispers to her grandmother, "They look like river water when the wind makes little lines." The grandmother smiles warmly. They do. Children often notice simple beauties that older eyes pass without seeing. The first layer slowly reaches the far edge of the board. The father studies it carefully. There are no large gaps. No crowded places. The strips rest together naturally. He nods once. Now comes the second layer. This time the strips are placed across the first. Each crosses at a right angle. Little by little a woven pattern appears. Not woven by thread. Not woven by a loom. But woven by patience. The natural juices inside the papyrus begin their quiet work almost immediately. No one can see it happening. Yet every fiber slowly begins reaching toward its neighbor. The father presses gently with both palms. Only enough to help the layers settle together. The room remains peaceful. Outside, the sounds of the village drift gently through the open doorway. A woman sings quietly while grinding grain. The song is slow and familiar. Its melody rises and falls like the gentle movement of the river. Farther away, a potter taps lightly against a drying vessel. The sound is soft. Almost like rain upon stone. A donkey brays once before becoming silent again. The workshop seems to gather all of these sounds without disturbing its calm. The mother brings another damp cloth. She lays it carefully across the finished layers for a few moments. The cloth keeps the surface evenly moist before pressing begins. She smooths it gently with her hands. Every movement is careful. Every touch has purpose. Though she rarely speaks while working, her hands tell their own quiet story. The father has often thought that good papyrus is not made by one person. It belongs to the whole family. One gathers reeds. Another peels them. Another keeps them moist. Another prepares the boards. Another carries water. Even the youngest child helps by keeping the workspace clean. Every small task becomes part of the finished sheet. The father remembers his own childhood. His first responsibility had been carrying water from the Nile. The jars had seemed enormous then. Sometimes he spilled a little before reaching home. He worried his father would be disappointed. Instead, the older man had simply smiled. "Tomorrow," he had said, "your hands will be steadier." They had been. Not suddenly. Only a little. Then a little more. The memory makes him smile now. His son notices. "What are you remembering?" "When I was younger than your sister." "Were you already making papyrus?" "I thought I was." The boy laughs softly. "Were you not?" "I mostly carried water." "And did you carry it well?" "Not at first." The son grins. "I dropped 2 strips yesterday. And tomorrow you may drop only 1. The quiet laughter fades naturally. Neither of them feels embarrassed by mistakes. The workshop has taught them that skill grows slowly. Just as the reeds do. The father removes the damp cloth. The layered sheet has settled nicely. Now it is ready for pressing. He gestures toward the new wooden board brought by the carpenter. "Today we use it for the first time." Together they lift it carefully. The fresh wood still carries a gentle scent from the tree it once was. The surface is smooth beneath their fingers. They lower it slowly onto the waiting sheet. The edges meet evenly. Nothing shifts. The father nods with satisfaction. It fits well. His son runs his hand across the top. It feels lighter than the old one. It is. Will that matter? For a while. The father walks toward the corner where the pressing stones rest. He chooses them thoughtfully. Not every board requires exactly the same weight. The newer wood is slightly thicker. He selects one smooth stone. Then another. The son brings 2 more. One by one they are placed upon the board. Each settles with a quiet sound. There is no force. Only steady weight. The work now belongs to time once again. The family steps back. The sheet will remain hidden beneath the board for many hours. Perhaps longer. The father wipes his brow. The air has grown warmer. Outside, the sunlight now fills nearly every corner of the courtyard. The youngest daughter brings cool water from the clay jar. Each member of the family drinks. The water has been resting in the shade all morning. The porous clay has kept it pleasantly cool. The father closes his eyes briefly after taking a drink. The simple comfort of cool water feels especially welcome as the day grows hotter. His wife notices the nearly empty jar. Without a word she lifts it. "I will go to the river." "I will come," says the daughter eagerly. The mother smiles. Very well. Together they begin the short walk. The little girl skips at first, then remembers the calm pace her mother keeps. She slows immediately. The path to the river is one she knows well. Wildflowers grow here and there beside the irrigation channels. Tiny insects move among them. Butterflies drift lazily through the warm air. The mother points toward a flowering plant. "Be careful where you step." The daughter nods. She lifts her sandals carefully over the blossoms. Every living thing has its place. At the riverbank they kneel together. The Nile moves as gently as ever. The daughter watches her own reflection tremble upon the surface. She reaches one finger toward the water. Tiny circles spread outward. The reflection dances. Her mother lowers the clay jar beneath the surface. Air bubbles rise. The jar fills slowly. The daughter listens closely. She enjoys the bubbling sound. It reminds her of the little fish that sometimes gather near the shore. Nearby, several women wash vegetables gathered from the gardens. One smiles kindly at the child. Another asks whether the papyrus workshop is busy today. The mother nods. We began another sheet this morning. May it dry well. And may your harvest be plentiful. Simple blessings pass easily between neighbors. No one speaks loudly. The river seems to encourage quiet voices. Mother and daughter begin their walk home. The filled jar rests balanced against the woman's hip. The child carries a much smaller cup beside her. She walks very carefully. Each step is thoughtful. She wants to spill as little water as possible. When they reach the workshop, her father smiles. You brought the river with you. She lifts the small cup proudly. I did. He kneels beside her. And not much escaped. She beams with happiness. The cup may hold only a little water, but she carried it with all the care she could give. The father pours the fresh water into a shaded storage jar. Its coolness will help the family through the afternoon. Then he turns once more toward the pressing boards. Beneath the smooth wood and patient stones, another sheet quietly begins its transformation, unseen yet steadily changing, just as countless others have done before it. Around it, the gentle rhythm of the workshop continues without interruption, each family member moving through familiar tasks with calm hands and peaceful hearts, while beyond the walls the timeless Nile flows onward beneath the warm Egyptian sun, carrying another ordinary day gently toward evening. As the morning slowly gives way to the middle hours of the day, the light outside becomes brighter and steadier. The sun now stands high enough that the roofs of the mud-brick homes cast only short shadows. The warmth settles gently over the village, not yet overwhelming, but quietly reminding everyone that the cool comfort of dawn has passed. Inside the papyrus workshop, however, the thick walls continue to hold a welcome coolness. The air feels still. Only the faint breeze drifting through the open doorway stirs the hanging linen cloths. The family has entered another peaceful rhythm. There is no need for hurried movement. The newest sheet rests beneath its wooden board and smooth stones, beginning the slow work of becoming whole. Nothing more can be asked of it for now. The father knows that patience is now the finest tool available. He wipes the work table with a damp cloth. Tiny fibers cling to the fabric. They are soft enough that they almost disappear against the linen. When the table is clean, he runs the palm of his hand across its surface. No roughness remains. It is ready for the next sheet whenever the time comes. His son gathers the trimmed ends left from the morning's work. Some are long enough to save. Others are too small. The useful pieces are tied together with thin strands of fiber. The smallest fragments are placed into another basket. Even these tiny pieces may someday find a purpose. Perhaps they will become packing material for delicate pottery. Perhaps they will be added to kindling beneath the cooking fire. Nothing is thrown away without thought. The youngest daughter watches carefully. She notices that her brother keeps two different baskets. Why not put them together, she asks. The older boy smiles. Father says every piece has its own place. The little girl looks into both baskets. One holds neat strips. The other holds soft little curls and short pieces. She nods thoughtfully. Then she begins helping sort them. Very soon she is carefully deciding where each tiny fragment belongs. Her father watches quietly. Children learn many things by simply joining the work. Not every lesson requires long explanations. The grandmother has moved her weaving closer to the doorway where the breeze is strongest. The basket in her lap is nearly finished. Its pattern is simple, strong, even. Her fingers move slowly across the reeds. Each strand bends exactly where she wishes. Her hands no longer seem to think about the work. Years have taught them the path. Occasionally she pauses. Not because she has forgotten the pattern. Only to rest her hands for a few quiet moments. Age has made her movements slower. But it has also made them gentler. The father often believes that old hands carry a different kind of wisdom. They know when to stop. They know when to continue. They no longer hurry toward the end of a task. The mother kneels beside a clay jar filled with dried dates. She carefully counts enough for the midday meal. Not too many. Not too few. The harvest has been good this year, but every household understands the importance of thinking beyond today. The seasons continue turning whether people prepare for them or not. She smiles as she places the dates into a small woven bowl. The sweet fruit will bring welcome energy after the morning's labor. Outside, the village has become a little quieter. Many workers now choose the shade whenever possible. A shepherd guides his flock toward a stand of acacia trees where the animals may rest. The fishermen who returned early sit beneath woven shelters repairing nets. The marketplace still welcomes visitors, but conversations have become softer as the warmth increases. Life continues. Only the pace has changed. The father steps outside carrying a small wooden stool. He places it beneath the narrow shade of a sycamore tree beside the workshop. For a little while, he sharpens his tools. The knife has served him well this morning. Still, a careful craftsman never waits until a blade becomes dull. He wets the sharpening stone with a few drops of water. Then the knife begins its familiar journey. Forward. Back. Forward. Back. The sound is quiet. Almost like someone softly brushing cloth against smooth wood. His son sits nearby watching. How do you know when it is sharp enough? The father smiles. The knife tells you. The boy looks puzzled. It speaks. In its own way. He lifts the blade toward the sunlight. The edge catches the light differently. The son studies it closely. At first he sees nothing unusual. Then, little by little, he notices how the edge becomes finer. Almost invisible. I think I see. You will see more each year. The father hands him a small piece of reed. Try it. The boy draws the knife gently through the stem. The cut is clean. Smooth. No tearing. He smiles. It is easier. The father nods. A sharp tool asks less from your hands. The lesson is simple. Good preparation makes every task gentler. A breeze passes through the sycamore leaves. Their shadows dance softly across the ground. The father closes his eyes for just a moment. He listens. The river. The birds. The distant voices. The quiet scrape of his mother's weaving. The soft laughter of his daughter as she sorts tiny papyrus pieces inside the workshop. These sounds have become the music of his life. He cannot imagine another melody more comforting. Across the lane, the old potter waves. The father returns the greeting. The potter walks slowly toward him carrying a small clay cup. I made this yesterday. He places it gently into the papyrus maker's hands. Its surface is smooth. The color is warm like baked earth after sunset. It is beautiful, the father says. The potter smiles. It holds water well. The father turns the cup carefully. No cracks. No rough edges. It will serve our family for many years. The potter looks toward the workshop. And perhaps one day you will send one of your sheets to my grandson when he begins learning to write. I would be honored. The old men sit together for a little while beneath the shade. Neither feels the need to speak often. Friendship, like good craftsmanship, grows quietly over many seasons. After some time, the potter returns to his workshop. The father watches him go. He thinks about how many different hands shape a single village. One family bakes bread. Another catches fish. Another weaves baskets. Another shapes clay. His own family prepares the pages upon which many lives will one day be recorded. No single craft stands above another. Together they make the village complete. Inside the workshop, the son has begun arranging yesterday's dried sheets. These have already spent many hours beneath the pressing boards. Now they are firm enough for the next careful step. The father joins him. He lifts the first sheet gently. Its color has become warmer than before. The surface feels smooth beneath his fingertips. Yet there is still more work ahead. He places the sheet upon a polished stone slab. Beside it rests a smooth rounded stone, worn by many years of careful use. The son reaches toward it. May I? The father nods. Very gently. The boy begins rubbing the stone across the papyrus. Small circles. Slow movements. No pressure beyond what is needed. The surface begins to grow even smoother. The natural fibers settle further. A soft, gentle sheen slowly appears where the stone has passed. The father watches with quiet satisfaction. This is called polishing, he says. It helps the writing later. So the reed becomes ready for the scribe. Yes. The boy continues. Back and forth. Small circles. The motion is peaceful. Almost soothing. The little girl watches with wide eyes. It shines. Only a little, her father replies. A page should not blind the eyes. She giggles softly. The grandmother smiles from her weaving. It should welcome them. The father nods. Exactly. The polished sheet catches the afternoon light in a gentle way. Not bright. Not dull. Simply calm. He imagines a scribe unrolling it weeks from now. A brush dipped carefully into black ink. The first graceful signs appearing upon its smooth surface. Perhaps the scribe will never think about the family who prepared the page. That is all right. The work itself is enough. The page does not ask for recognition. It simply asks to carry words faithfully. Outside, the warm breeze continues moving through the reeds beside the Nile. Boats drift quietly along the current. Farmers pause beneath trees before returning to their fields. Children help their parents with small afternoon tasks. The entire village seems wrapped in a peaceful stillness that belongs only to these middle hours of the day. And within the cool shade of the workshop, another polished sheet slowly reaches the quiet moment when it is no longer merely a plant from the river, but a place where memories, prayers, lessons, and ordinary lives may one day rest in careful lines, carried gently across time by the patient hands that first prepared its surface. The quiet hours of the afternoon settle gently over the village. The sun now hangs high above the Nile, bathing the fields in a warm golden light. The air outside shimmers above the dusty roads, and those who have spent the morning beneath the open sky naturally seek whatever shade they can find. Palm trees cast small islands of coolness upon the ground. Mud brick walls protect homes from the strongest heat. Even the animals seem to understand that this is a time for slower movements. Inside the workshop, the thick earthen walls hold back much of the warmth. The room remains peaceful. The polished papyrus sheet lies upon the stone slab, catching the soft light that enters through the doorway. The father runs his fingertips gently across its surface one final time. It feels smooth, firm, ready. He smiles quietly. Each finished sheet brings the same quiet feeling of satisfaction. Not pride. Not excitement. Simply the calm knowledge that careful work has become something useful. His son stands beside him. May I hold it? The father nods. With clean hands. The boy walks to the clay basin and washes carefully. He rubs away every trace of dust. Only then does he return. The father places the finished sheet into his hands. The boy supports it with both palms. It is lighter than he remembers. Almost weightless. He turns it slowly, watching the afternoon light move across its pale surface. It feels different now. It is. It almost feels alive. The father smiles. It carries the memory of the river. The boy looks thoughtfully toward the doorway where the Nile lies beyond the fields. Only yesterday the sheet had been standing among tall reeds beside the water. Now it rests quietly in his hands. Soon it may travel farther than anyone in the family has ever traveled. The thought fills him with quiet wonder. The father brings forward several finished sheets. Each has dried at a slightly different pace. Each has its own gentle pattern. No two are exactly alike. Nature has left small reminders within every page. A faint line here. A slightly wider fiber there. Nothing that weakens the sheet. Only quiet signs that every reed once grew beneath open skies. The mother enters carrying a folded piece of linen. She spreads it across the work table. One by one the finished sheets are placed upon it. Their edges are carefully aligned. She smooths the cloth over them before folding it gently. The bundle will protect them from dust until they are ready to be rolled. The youngest daughter watches closely. Why do we cover them? So they stay clean, her mother replies. The little girl nods. She brushes a tiny grain of dust from the linen with great seriousness. Everyone smiles. She has learned that even the smallest speck matters. Outside, a warm breeze carries the scent of dry earth and ripening grain. From somewhere across the village comes the steady sound of a hand mill turning. Stone against stone. Slow. Even. A woman hums softly while grinding flour. Her song drifts through the still air before fading again. The workshop seems to welcome every gentle sound without interrupting its calm. The father begins preparing the finished sheets for rolling. He chooses one carefully. Not every sheet should become part of the same roll. Those with similar width and color are placed together. His son helps arrange them. The edges meet neatly. The father lays the first sheet flat. A second is placed so that it overlaps the first by only a narrow amount. He moistens the joining edges ever so slightly. The natural fibers begin to cling together. He presses the overlap with a smooth bone tool that has belonged to the family for many years. The join becomes almost invisible. Another sheet follows. Then another. Little by little, a long roll begins to grow. The son watches with quiet admiration. It becomes longer than I expected. The father nods. Some rolls travel to temples. He adds another sheet. Some to merchants. Another gentle press. Some to schools where children first learn to write. The boy imagines young students sitting cross-legged upon cool stone floors. their brushes moving carefully across pages that his family has prepared. He smiles. I hope they write neatly. His father laughs softly. I hope they try. The grandmother pauses in her weaving. When your father was learning, she says, his writing wandered across the page like a goat looking for fresh grass. The son looks at his father with surprise. Is that true? The father cannot help smiling. It is. You were not always careful. I was careful. He chuckles quietly. My hands simply had not learned to listen yet. The family shares a gentle laugh. It is brief. Warm. Soon the peaceful quiet returns. The afternoon continues moving slowly. The pressing boards remain undisturbed. Beneath them, newer sheets continue their hidden work. On another table, polished pages wait patiently to become longer rolls. Every stage of the craft exists together in the same room. Fresh reeds. Soft strips. Pressed sheets. Drying pages. Finished rolls. The entire journey from river plan to writing surface can be seen without leaving the workshop. The father sometimes enjoys walking slowly from one table to another. Each step tells a different part of the story. Here are the reeds, still smelling of the Nile. Here are the softened fibers resting after their bath. Here are the sheets beneath their steady stones. Here are yesterday's pages becoming smooth beneath careful polishing. And here are the finished rolls, ready to leave the home where they were born. It reminds him that every beginning eventually becomes an ending, and every ending quietly prepares another beginning. A shadow passes across the doorway. A familiar merchant arrives. He wears simple linen clothing faded by many journeys beneath the Egyptian sun. A small donkey waits patiently outside carrying empty baskets. The merchant smiles warmly. Peace to your home. And to yours, the father replies. The visitor removes his sandals before entering the workshop. He knows that dust is unwelcome near finished papyrus. His eyes travel across the room. You have been busy. The river has been generous. The merchant nods. It usually is. He examines one finished roll. His fingers touch the surface lightly. He knows good papyrus when he feels it. This is fine work. The father thanks him with a quiet bow of the head. No boasting follows. The quality speaks for itself. The merchant unrolls only a short length. The joins are smooth. The surface is even. The color is warm and clean. He rolls it again carefully. I will take these to the town before the week's end. The father begins wrapping several finished rolls in protective linen. The mother ties each bundle with soft cord. The son counts them carefully. 1, 2, 3, 4. The merchant records the number upon a small wax tablet he carries. Even those who trade papyrus depend upon writing in many forms. Before leaving, he pauses beside the youngest daughter. She has been quietly arranging smooth pebbles once again. He smiles. Are you helping? She nods proudly. I carry water. Then you are very important. She looks toward her father. He smiles warmly. He speaks the truth. The merchant steps back into the afternoon sunlight. His donkey shifts patiently as the bundles are secured. Soon they will begin another journey along the river road. The father watches them disappear beyond the palm trees. For a few moments he simply stands in the doorway. He wonders where these rolls will finally come to rest. Perhaps inside a temple library? Perhaps in the home of a wealthy merchant? Perhaps beneath the careful hand of a royal scribe? Perhaps in the hands of a village teacher guiding a child through the first signs of writing. He will never know. And that is perfectly enough. The value of his work has never depended upon seeing its final destination. He turns back toward the workshop. Another sheet waits beneath its pressing board. Another bundle of reeds rests in the shade. Another basin holds softened fibers. The day's quiet rhythm continues without interruption. Outside, the Nile glimmers beneath the warm afternoon sun, carrying boats, reflections, and gentle currents toward distant places. Inside, the familiar scent of fresh papyrus, smooth wood, cool clay, and clean river water fills the peaceful room as the family returns once more to their patient work, allowing another ordinary afternoon to unfold with the same calm devotion that has guided their hands through countless seasons beside the timeless river. The afternoon begins its slow journey toward evening. The sunlight loses a little of its sharp brightness and becomes softer as it stretches across the valley. The warmth remains, but there is a quiet promise that cooler air will return before long. The palm leaves beside the workshop move gently whenever the breeze arrives from the river, then become still again. Inside the workshop, the day's work continues with the same calm rhythm that has carried the family from dawn. The merchant has already disappeared along the dusty road. His donkey walks steadily toward the larger town, carrying the carefully wrapped rolls of papyrus. The father watches until both merchant and animal are hidden beyond a curve in the road. Only then does he return to the workbench. He does not spend long wondering where the rolls will travel. There is comfort in knowing that once something is finished, it must continue its own journey. Just as the Nile never turns back toward its source, finished work must leave the hands that created it. Another sheet waits beneath the smooth pressing board. The father rests both hands upon the wood for a quiet moment. It feels slightly warm where the afternoon sunlight has touched it. He listens. There is no sound beneath the board. Yet he knows that quiet changes continue inside. Moisture slowly moves through the fibers. Tiny strands settle closer together. Every passing moment brings the sheet nearer to completion. Some work happens in silence. Often, it is the most important work of all. His son joins him. Should we look? The father smiles. Not yet. The boy nods. Learning patience remains one of the longest lessons. There are times when opening the board too soon only interrupts what time is already doing well. The father remembers how difficult this lesson once seemed. As a child he wanted to lift every board every few moments. He wanted to see whether the sheet had changed. His own father had gently stopped him. You cannot make tomorrow arrive by looking for it. Those words have stayed with him through every season. Now he quietly passes the same lesson onward. Instead of checking the new sheet, they turn their attention to another task. Several finished rolls remain upon the shelf. Each must be inspected before joining the next shipment. The father unrolls the first one upon the long wooden table. The papyrus opens slowly with a gentle curling sound. Sunlight from the doorway falls across its pale surface. The father moves one hand lightly along its length. He searches for raised edges. Small wrinkles. Places where two sheets meet. The son watches carefully. At first glance everything appears perfect. Then the father pauses. Near one joining edge he notices a tiny rough place. It is hardly visible. Many people would never see it. He moistens the tip of a clean cloth. With slow, gentle movements he smooths the surface again. Then he rubs it lightly with the polished stone. The roughness disappears. The son smiles. I could not see it. You will. When? The father laughs quietly. Perhaps next flood season. The boy laughs as well. That is a long time. It is. But the river never complains. The boy looks toward the Nile beyond the doorway. Its wide surface shines peacefully beneath the afternoon light. He understands. Some things simply require waiting. The youngest daughter enters carrying a small woven tray. Upon it rests a handful of smooth river shells she collected many days before. She places them carefully beside her grandmother. I washed them. The grandmother examines each one. Some are white. Some carry soft shades of brown. One has delicate lines curling across its surface. They are beautiful. The little girl smiles. I thought they might help keep your weaving straight. The grandmother laughs gently. I believe they will. She places two shells upon opposite corners of the basket she is making. Their small weight holds the reeds neatly in place. You have given me useful helpers. The little girl beams with quiet happiness. Even simple gifts become valuable when offered with care. Outside, two boys walk past driving a pair of goats toward the river. The animals move slowly, stopping now and then to nibble leaves from low bushes. Their bells make soft sounds that drift through the warm air. Farther away, someone is singing while working in a field. The words cannot be understood from this distance. Only the melody reaches the workshop. It rises gently, then disappears into the breeze. The father has heard songs like this all his life. Some belong to planting. Some to harvesting. Some are simply sung because steady work feels lighter when accompanied by a familiar tune. The workshop itself remains mostly quiet. The family rarely sings while making papyrus. The careful arranging of strips and smoothing of sheets asks for close attention. Silence becomes another helpful tool. The mother kneels beside a large clay jar. She removes a folded linen cloth covering dried herbs gathered earlier in the season. The scent fills the room immediately. Mint. Coriander. A little fennel. She chooses only a small amount. These herbs will flavor the evening meal. Their fragrance mingles with the fresh smell of papyrus and the earthy scent of the workshop. The room seems filled with the quiet comforts of ordinary life. The father lifts another finished roll. This one is slightly longer. He remembers making it during the last flood season. The reeds had been especially healthy that year. The fibers joined beautifully. He unrolls it slowly. The surface remains smooth despite many months of careful storage. He smiles. Good work grows old gracefully. His son notices the faint difference in color. This one looks warmer. It has rested longer. Does papyrus change? A little. Like wood. Very much like wood. The father hands him the edge of the roll. Feel it? The boy runs his fingers across the surface. It feels softer. The father nods. Time changes many things quietly. He thinks about his own hands. They are stronger now than when he was young. The skin is rougher. The small scars have become part of him. Time has shaped him as gently as it shapes papyrus. The afternoon breeze grows cooler. It carries more moisture from the river now. The family notices without speaking. The hottest hours are beginning to pass. Soon the shadows will lengthen again. The father walks outside. The sunlight now falls across the workshop at a different angle. Long beams of light stretch through the doorway. Dust floats lazily within them. He watches the tiny particles drifting. Each one moves slowly. Almost lazily. Nothing in the afternoon seems eager to hurry. Across the lane, the potter has arranged newly fired jars outside his workshop. They stand in neat rows. Their warm reddish color glows softly beneath the lowering sun. The potter notices the papyrus maker watching. He raises a hand. The father waves back. Their friendship needs few words. Both understand the quiet satisfaction that comes from shaping simple materials into something lasting. A little farther along the road, the baker removes another batch of bread from the oven. Children gather nearby carrying baskets. Warm loaves disappear quickly into waiting hands. The smell drifts across the village. The youngest daughter lifts her head. Bread. Her grandmother smiles. Your nose always knows. The little girl laughs softly. It does. The father smiles as well. The smell reminds him that evening is drawing closer. Soon the family will finish today's work. The pressing boards will remain where they are. The polished rolls will rest safely upon their shelves. The knives will be cleaned. The work table swept. Tomorrow morning, everything will begin again. Not because today was incomplete, but because this craft, like the river itself, continues one quiet day after another. He returns to the workshop. His son is carefully stacking the polished sheets between clean pieces of linen. The mother has already begun washing the bowls used during the afternoon. The grandmother ties the final knot on her finished basket. She places it beside the doorway where the breeze can carry away the last traces of moisture. The youngest daughter quietly gathers the shells she had lent her grandmother. She thanks her for using them. The grandmother kisses the top of her head. They were excellent helpers. The child smiles proudly. Outside, the Nile continues its endless journey beneath the softening light of late afternoon. Inside, the peaceful workshop settles into the gentle closing hours of another ordinary day, where careful hands, quiet conversations, familiar scents, and steady routines blend together as naturally as the reeds growing along the riverbank, preparing the family to greet another calm evening beneath the ancient Egyptian sky. The sunlight begins to soften as the afternoon slowly leans toward evening. The harsh brightness that covered the valley only a short while ago becomes warmer now. The color of the mud-brick homes changes gently beneath the lowering sun. Their walls glow with quiet shades of gold and amber. Long shadows stretch across the dusty paths where children have spent the day carrying water, gathering firewood, and helping their families with small but important tasks. The workshop welcomes the changing light. The doorway no longer shines with bright white sunlight. Instead, a warm glow reaches across the work table, touching the polished stone, the wooden boards, and the neat bundles of papyrus resting in the shade. The father enjoys this hour. It reminds him that another day's careful work has nearly reached its resting place. There is still much to do. Yet none of it asks for haste. He walks toward the pressing boards once again. This time enough hours have passed. He places both hands upon the smooth wood. The familiar boards feel cooler now. The warmth of midday has begun to fade. His son joins him without being called. He already knows the routine. Together they lift the first stone. Its weight has become familiar. Neither of them strains. They have lifted these same stones countless times. One stone is placed carefully upon the floor. Then another. And another. The wooden board is now free. The father slips his fingers beneath its edge. He raises it slowly. The new sheet lies quietly beneath. Its surface has changed. The separate strips now appear almost completely joined. Only faint lines remain where one overlaps another. The father studies every part. The corners. The center. The edges. Nothing appears uneven. The sheet has accepted the patient work of the day. The son smiles. It looks stronger. It is. The father gently lifts one corner. The sheet rises smoothly without separating. He nods. It is ready for drying. Together they carry it toward another board waiting nearby. The mother has already spread a clean linen cloth beneath it. The sheet is laid down with careful hands. No sudden movement. No folded edge. Everything remains flat. The afternoon breeze entering through the doorway will help carry away the remaining moisture little by little. Nearby, yesterday's sheet has become almost completely dry. The father compares them quietly. Each stage has its own beauty. One still carries the cool dampness of fresh fibers. The other has become firmer. Its pale color has grown warmer. Time leaves gentle marks upon every page. The youngest daughter watches from her favorite place near the doorway. She has learned to stay just far enough away that she does not disturb the work. She notices the father's careful expression. Is it a good one? He smiles. It is. She claps her hands once. Only once. Then she remembers the quiet atmosphere of the workshop. Her grandmother smiles without looking up from her weaving. The page heard your happiness. The little girl giggles softly. I hope it likes it. I think it does. The workshop returns to its peaceful silence. Outside, the breeze carries the distant smell of fresh bread. The evening baking has begun throughout the village. Smoke rises gently from many rooftops. It drifts upward before disappearing into the wide Egyptian sky. A pair of pigeons lands upon a nearby wall. They walk slowly along the warm bricks before settling close together. Their soft cooing becomes another quiet sound added to the afternoon. The father walks toward a shelf holding finished rolls. He chooses one wrapped in linen. It has been resting for several weeks. Sometimes he enjoys unrolling older work simply to remind himself how well patient craftsmanship endures. The linen is untied carefully. The roll opens with a familiar whisper. He studies the surface. The color has become slightly richer. The fibers lie peacefully together. No edges have lifted. No cracks have appeared. He smiles with quiet satisfaction. His son watches. It stayed beautiful. Because it was given enough time. The boy nods. The lesson feels familiar. Everything important in the workshop seems to return to the same quiet truth. Time. Patience. Gentle hands. Outside, an elderly fisherman walks slowly along the path carrying his net over one shoulder. The day's work has ended for him. His sandals leave shallow marks in the dust. Behind him, the Nile reflects the soft afternoon light like polished bronze. The father notices the fisherman pause beside the river. He kneels for a moment. Perhaps washing his hands. Perhaps simply enjoying the cool water before returning home. The father understands. Many workers end their day beside the Nile. The river seems to wash away more than dust. It carries away tiredness as well. The mother begins preparing small bundles of dried reeds. Some will be used tomorrow beneath the cooking fire. Others will become fresh cord for tying papyrus bundles. She sorts them by length. Even this quiet task receives her full attention. Nothing is done carelessly. The grandmother finishes her basket. She places it upon the floor. The weaving is tight. Even. Strong. She runs one hand gently around the rim. Her fingers discover no loose ends. She smiles to herself. Another ordinary piece of work completed with care. The youngest daughter carries the basket toward the storage shelf. She walks slowly. Both hands hold it carefully. When she reaches the shelf, she places it beside several older baskets made during previous seasons. She steps back. Together they look almost like members of the same family. Each slightly different. Each useful. Each created by patient hands. The father notices. You carried it well. She nods proudly. I walk slowly. That helps. The little girl thinks for a moment. Everything here likes slow. The father laughs quietly. I believe you are right. Even his son smiles. The child has spoken a simple truth. The workshop does seem to welcome slow hands. Slow voices. Slow thoughts. Outside, shadows continue growing longer. Children begin returning home from errands. Goats wander back toward their shelters. The birds flying above the river now travel in smaller groups, searching for familiar places to rest before darkness. The air feels cooler. More comfortable. The father gathers the family's knives. Each blade is washed carefully with clean water. Then dried thoroughly with linen. Moisture left overnight could invite rust. He inspects every edge before placing them inside a wooden box. The son arranges the sharpening stones beside them. Tomorrow morning they will be exactly where they belong. The work table is swept. Tiny fibers are gathered. Unused strips are covered with damp cloth. The pressing boards are checked one final time. Nothing remains unfinished except the quiet work that time itself will continue through the night. The father steps outside once more. The western sky now glows with warm orange light. The tops of the papyrus reeds shimmer gently beside the river. A light wind moves across them in slow waves. He watches them carefully. Tomorrow morning many of those reeds will still be standing. Some will be harvested. Others left to grow. The marsh will continue its peaceful life regardless. A small boat drifts quietly downstream. Its lone fisherman rows without hurry. Each stroke of the oar sends gentle circles across the water. The sound barely reaches the shore. The father breathes deeply. The evening air smells different now. Less of warm dust. More of cool water and river plants. The change is subtle. Only those who spend every day beside the Nile notice it immediately. His son steps beside him. They stand together without speaking. There is no need. The river provides enough conversation. Its steady current speaks in gentle ripples against the muddy bank. A heron glides low above the water before disappearing into the reeds. Far away, someone calls softly to a child. The answer comes almost immediately. The village is slowly gathering itself for another peaceful night. The father looks toward the workshop one more time. Inside, another papyrus sheet rests quietly on its drying board. Tomorrow it will be smoother. Stronger. Closer to becoming a page that will one day carry careful handwriting across its pale surface. For now, it needs nothing except the cool evening air and the passing hours. He smiles gently. Another ordinary day has nearly completed its quiet circle. And as the first colors of sunset begin spreading across the timeless Nile, the family returns indoors with calm hearts and tired hands, leaving the workshop filled with the comforting scent of fresh papyrus, smooth wood, cool clay, and the peaceful promise that when dawn arrives once more, the ancient rhythm of their simple craft will begin again with the same steady grace that has guided their lives beside the river for generations. The evening settles softly over the Nile. The last colors of sunset slowly fade from warm gold into gentle shades of blue. One by one, the stars return to the ancient sky, just as they have done through countless seasons. The river continues its quiet journey, carrying cool water past fields, villages, temples, and silent stretches of reeds that sway gently in the night breeze. Inside the small mud-brick home, the family finishes the last simple tasks of the day. The clay bowls have been washed. The knives have been cleaned and placed carefully back into their wooden box. The pressing boards rest quietly inside the workshop, their smooth stones standing faithfully above the newest sheets of papyrus. Nothing more is asked of them tonight. The work now belongs to time. The grandmother folds her hands in her lap and watches the small cooking fire slowly become glowing embers. The mother rolls the remaining bread inside clean linen for tomorrow's breakfast. The son stretches his tired shoulders before carefully laying his sandals beside his sleeping mat. The youngest daughter yawns, her eyes already heavy with sleep. Before lying down, she peeks once through the open doorway toward the workshop. The pages are sleeping too, she whispers. Her father smiles. Yes. So they will be ready tomorrow. They will. She nods with quiet satisfaction and curls beneath her linen covering. Soon her breathing becomes slow and peaceful. The father steps outside one last time. The village has become wonderfully still. Only a few distant voices remain before they too fade into silence. Somewhere across the water, a fisherman guides his boat toward the shore beneath the gentle moonlight. Palm leaves move softly in the evening breeze. The reeds along the river whisper together with a sound so gentle that it almost disappears into the flowing water. He walks slowly to the edge of the Nile. The moon reflects across the quiet current in a long silver path. Small fish disturb the surface from time to time, leaving tiny circles that spread outward before quietly disappearing. He kneels and lets his fingers rest in the cool water. The same river greeted him before sunrise. The same river nourished the reeds he harvested with his son. The same river cooled tired hands throughout the day. Tomorrow it will greet him once again. Its steady flow asks for nothing. It simply continues. He thinks about the papyrus sheets resting beneath their boards. Soon they will dry completely. Soon they will be polished until smooth. Soon they will become long rolls carried by patient merchants along dusty roads and quiet river boats. Upon those pages, careful hands will write prayers offered in peaceful temples. Children will practice their first uncertain signs. Merchants will record baskets of grain, jars of oil, and woven cloth. Physicians will preserve remedies learned through many generations. Families will send letters filled with ordinary news. Scribes will copy stories so they may outlive the voices that first spoke them. Yet every one of those words will begin here. Not inside a palace. Not inside a grand hall. But in a quiet workshop beside the Nile, where an ordinary family rose before dawn, harvested simple reeds, worked with patient hands, and trusted the gentle passage of time. History often remembers the names of kings. It remembers great monuments reaching toward the sky. It remembers victories, ceremonies, and mighty rulers. But beneath every great story were countless quiet lives. Hands that baked bread before sunrise. Hands that repaired fishing nets. Hands that shaped clay into jars. Hands that planted grain beside the flood waters. Hands that carried water home for their families. And hands that transformed humble reeds into pages upon which the voices of an entire civilization could quietly endure. Those ordinary people rarely expected to be remembered. Their reward was found in the rhythm of honest work, shared meals, peaceful evenings, and another sunrise waiting just beyond the darkness. The father rises from the riverbank. He returns slowly along the familiar path. His sandals leave gentle marks in the dust. By morning, the breeze may soften them. Soon new footprints will cross the old. Life beside the Nile has always moved this way. One day following another. One season following the last. Never hurried. Never standing still. Inside the house, the family sleeps peacefully. The moonlight falls softly across the woven mats. The workshop stands nearby, quiet and patient. The scent of fresh papyrus still lingers faintly in the cool night air. Outside, the Nile continues its endless journey beneath the stars. Its waters carry reflections of the moon, the whisper of the reeds, and the quiet memories of ordinary people whose gentle routines became part of history without ever asking to be noticed. And somewhere in the peaceful darkness, another papyrus sheet rests beneath smooth wood and steady stone, slowly becoming tomorrow's page while the ancient river sings its timeless lullaby to the sleeping land. May the cool breeze from the Nile carry away the weight of the day. May the quiet stars watch gently over your rest. May the peaceful rhythm of simple hands, flowing water, and whispering reeds remain with you as the ancient night grows deeper. And as the river continues its calm and endless journey through the heart of Egypt, let every breath become slower, every thought become lighter, and every sound fade gently into the soft silence of sleep.